Okay, wonderful. Hello, everyone. It's Mon Mothma's HoloNet. We're just posting on it. Welcome back to MothmaNet News and our 50-day countdown to Andor Season 2. Today, our guest is... Would you like to introduce yourself, my friend?
I would love to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Charles. I am one half of the Gold Squadron Gays podcast. I am a cast member on For Light and Dice, and I do about a half dozen thousand other things all of the time. I'm very tired, but I wanted to come talk about Star Wars because
That is so real.
that's my joy in life at this point. It keeps me
And
going.
And what are we talking about today, Charles?
Today we are talking about my favorite bitchy catty office comedy, the Imperial Security Bureau.
I love that. I love how you described it. Sometimes when I'm typing ISB, I accidentally type IBS, and then I get into which ISB officers have IBS, which was an interesting discussion with one of my roommates at one point. So, yeah.
It's definitely Dedra's assistant. I forget what his name is.
Hirt.
The obviously gay one.
Yeah. The one that looks like Mini Tarkin. He looks like Mini Tarkin, so of course he's gay.
Of course, and all successful women in positions of power in either the Republic or the New Republic or the Empire must have their little gay assistant. That's why Mon Mothma needed a little gay assistant.
Yeah, everyone needed to die so that she could have Sinjir.
Exactly. Everything was worth it so that Sinjir, who for some reason has not shown up in the visual media, I assume because Dave Filoni is a coward.
He knows nobody else would care about any other character on that screen if he gave us Sinjir.
Exactly. I want to see cleaned up Sinjir next to Mon Mothma in season 2 of Ahsoka.
I want to see them being bitches together.
Hair done. Exactly.
The way that I could just tell the two of them standing at a party, like off to the side, just having like a drink in each of their hands, and they're just complaining and judging everyone else in the room. And Leia's like, wow, this is horrendous to watch. You have to stop being like this. And Mon's like, he brings out the worst in me.
Well, because Leia got stuck with C-3PO as her gay assistant.
Yeah, that's her gay assistant.
So, sorry to 3PO, Sinjir is much cooler than you are. I hate to say this.
You could have a drink with Sinjir. But again, you'd be like, hey, Sinjir, do you want it? He'd be like, ooh, have a drink? Yes. Immediately. You can't even finish the question.
That's why he's good representation, because it's accurate.
Yeah.
Because that's how we all are at work functions we don't want to be at. Just
even work functions I want to be at. Even like if I'm going out with coworkers, I'm like, are we getting drunk? No, I won't be there. It's like, you have to open tomorrow. You have to be back here at 11. And I'm like, I don't see a problem here. Stay out till 2.
But before we had the New Republic, we did unfortunately have a whole bunch of fascism. And that segues us back to the Imperial Security Bureau. I don't know if you can tell, but on Gold Squadron Gays, I have something of a tangent problem. I won't say we have something of a tangent problem, because we don't. I do.
Yeah.
And so I've had to get real good at running off in a completely different direction and then having to be like, so somehow referencing the thing that I was supposed to be talking about.
Look, I feel like it's just, you have two people right now who just love Mon Mothma, and we're just like, we could talk about Mon. We could go on a little Mon tangent, and I feel like it's gonna happen quite a bit.
I did pitch a couple of different ideas to you for episodes for me to potentially be on, and I specifically didn't put Mon on the list because I knew I could do that one for way too fucking long. because I did Fulcrum Transmissions a while back. I did their Mon
I
Mothma
loved that episode. It was so good.
It's fantastic episode. I love guesting on other people's shows, and that one in particular was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, Girl Boss of the Week, Mon Mothma. I have my Girl Boss of the Week sticker somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's with all my Dedra stickers that I got at Celebration last time. Speaking of the ISB.
Speaking of the Imperial Security Bureau,
Bureau.
That's it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah. So the ISB does security is an illusion. They're actually healthcare providers, according to Major Partagas in episode 4. Yeah, because it's the one I watched like yesterday. I'm rewatching Andor.
Well, clearly they're not really healthcare providers because they still have a budget.
That is true. That is true.
Not to get political on this show about Andor, the most political of all the Star Wars, except for maybe Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
We know they're not really healthcare providers because they have a budget.
Yeah. And but at the same time, I could still see them being like, denied on just random things that people need. It's like this will save the entire population of this planet, and we need this population safe. And they're like, denied.
This costs money, and we need this for this Project Stardust thing.
Yeah,
that Director Krennic keeps pushing. So I don't know about that. Maybe we also appropriate these funds for Project Stardust. Yeah. And I'm like, the fascist government is diverting funds away from anything that could be remotely helpful or useful for one guy's personal vanity project that probably won't even work. I wonder if Star Wars is political.
Yeah. I love it when people are like, "Oh, I love when Star Wars isn't woke, like in Andor," and I'm like,
"Oh, correct."
My eye is twitching.
The most political of all the Star Wars, except for Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion. Like, good God.
I'm like, I mean, speaking of Revenge of the Sith, I really want them to put those deleted scenes back in there because Mon Mothma's outfits, fashion icon. Like, she looked so good in Revenge of the Sith.
When I watch Revenge of the Sith with people, if I'm showing it to them for the first, but like when I showed it to my boyfriend for the first time and things like that, I'm always like, okay, and now we will watch the deleted scenes, which are also canon, but for some reason they won't put back in the movie. I think because it's a 2.5-hour movie already. I think is why they won't do that. But then I'm also like, just cut some of the Anakin scenes. You don't need those. I mean, you do need those, unfortunately.
Cut make half a 3-hour minute. Movie. Cut like half a minute or a minute off of 1 or 2 lightsaber fights. You can fit the Mon Mothma scenes back into the movie. Because it will also allow Padme to do something other than just be pregnant and crying.
I was actually remarking to my boyfriend last night, as we are recording this. I do not know what day it will actually air. But as of last night, we were talking about all of the really good movies that have been nominated for the Academy Awards Best Picture and also Amelia Perez. And I was thinking about Lord of the Rings, frequent thing for me to be doing. Yeah. And I was remarking to him because he had said some people thought that Dune Part 2 was too long. And I was remarking back in my day, in 2004, 2005, you got handed a 3.5-hour movie. You sat through the 3.5-hour movie. That was how you did things. Make Revenge of the Sith 3 hours long. There's no reason why it can't be.
I'll sit through it. I'm happy to. It's Star Wars. It's more Star Wars.
Exactly. I think returning us to the Imperial Security Bureau, a thing that will happen a lot, I think the thing that really interested me about it for Andor is that so often in other pieces of Star Wars media, because they're usually set on the front lines, they're usually set with the rebels, they're usually set with the freedom fighters. We know that the Mooks are stormtroopers. The Mooks are TIE pilots. The Mooks are the guys that are out there that's fighting the rebellion. And generally, when you have an Imperial Security Bureau agent show up, it's going to be a guy like Callus or a guy like Yularen or Dedra's incredibly awesome power walk out of her Lambda-class shuttle in Episode 12, where she is deployed to the front lines of this. But we've never gotten to see, to my knowledge, before Andor, we've never gotten to see the inner workings of what the ISB looks like. And as somebody who, for no particular reason, has been thinking a lot about fascist governments lately.
Can't imagine why.
And how they operate. And particularly historical ones, and thinking about Stalin. Have you ever seen the movie The Death of Stalin?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, you know how in The Death of Stalin, by the way, everybody should go watch The Death of Stalin. It's a fucking hilarious movie.
It has been a while for me, though, so bear with me if I don't remember something.
Broadly, something that Stalin did was he kind of would play his people off each other. That was part of how he maintained power, is you wanted to make sure nobody could really get a coalition together to overthrow you. And part of how you did that was you keep the effective people working against each other. And we see that in the depiction of the ISB as it is presented in Andor, that it is this organization where Partagast has designed it by nature of how he set these arbitrary boundaries for these people to compete with each other.
Yeah.
And we see the effects of that ridiculous office politics. Dedra's only able to figure the thing out because she circumvents the whole system. Which I think is really interesting choice for her.
And it also definitely, like, it makes sense that it paints a target on her back. And, like, I hate to say it, I understand Blevins' warning to her about it. Like, hey, if you break these rules, like, this is going to cause problems for you, right? And I wonder if we're going to see that in season 2, because will she be a person that Palpatine or even Partagaz, Yularen, that they would consider a threat to the way that they are doing things and have to bring her down? And, you know, I don't want that to happen. I have this grand vision that Dedra should be part of the power struggle that happens after the destruction of the Death Star. But if that doesn't happen, I want her to go out in a blaze of glory. I want her to go down fighting, because I think it would make the most sense for her character, because I feel like that is who she is. She's a fighter, right?
She and Ray Sloan would be too powerful together.
The way that the two of them could have easily overthrown Palpatine, and gonna be honest, probably made the galaxy worse.
I think so.
Ray Sloan is just a mean lesbian, and then Dedra's just mean. I'm not 100% sure if Dedra is straight.
You know,
I think so.
I just immediately flashed. I don't know how familiar with Legends you are, but through convoluted series of events, Legends version of the New Republic did wind up with a former Imperial as chief of state at one point.
Yeah, it was Natasha Dalla, Tarkin's ex,
Natasha
right?
Dalla.
She's like one of my favorite Legends characters.
Side piece. Oh my god.
The way when I was reading those books when I was younger, I didn't realize it. I started reading them again as an adult, and I was like, so how did I not know that Tarkin fucks?
Yeah, Tarkin in Legends, definitely not a gay dude.
No, he was aggressively, like, weirdly straight. It feels wrong. It feels wrong
It's
because
so
by
strange to read.
all logic, he should be gay. It makes the most sense for him to be gay.
I was thinking there with the comment about Dedra, like, and causing waves within the ISB.
Yeah.
There is a wonderful scene from Obi-Wan Kenobi that I'm going to bring up, and it's from episode 4 when Teledurith, Queen of My Heart, one of the best Star Wars characters they've come up with. Why is she not coming back? Where's my path show? Castandira Varma, she's right there. When she is trying to break into the Fortress Inquisitorius. And she basically walks up to this checkpoint without the right authorization and just starts yelling at the guy to let her in. And I made the point on our coverage of that. And this is also like fighting against fascism tips with Charles. If you're in a situation historically in a certain regime that I'm trying really hard not to say the name of for monetization reasons, in the 1940s.
Yes.
And you need to get past a checkpoint, or you need to get an official to do what you want, yell at them and cause a scene. And particularly threaten to go to their boss. Because the thing is, systems like this, they can't abide rule breakers or people who step out of line or people who make waves. And chances are good, whatever bottom feeding private you've got manning that checkpoint is going to be scared shitless of the people above them. And I think it's really interesting that Deborah, being as effective as she is in the ISB, and her saying things like, we need to take down these artificial barriers that we have constructed. The rebels don't care about your lines. We are, 2 years away from an actual organized rebellion that's about to form? And she's one of the only people that's seeing it and is going, look, we can't be doing this.
Yeah.
We can't be trying to stick by these systems that aren't working. Systems either adapt or die. That's going to cause problems because the reaction is going to be the reaction she gets, which is, hey, maybe you don't want to be questioning your boss's arbitrary 15-year-old lines like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's bad. And it's really fascinating to me the way that they've written this security bureau with this very particular type of fasci office politics. Because on the one hand, it's terrifying. The reach the ISB has and the fact that trillions of lives, quadrillions of lives are decided by a bunch of awful people sniping at each other around a conference table. But on the other hand, it's really funny how just politically backstabby all these people are in this organization, which I love their scenes. I love everything about their scenes.
I see the ISB come up and I'm like, oh, we're about to be fed. We're about to be fed adults who are acting like children. And they're supposed to be the best and the brightest minds. Like,
you have just described fascists, so
that is true. That is true. I don't know how far you are into the Mask of Fear yet.
I have not had a chance to start, but I am starting imminently as of recording this. So by the time people see it, I will have started and or probably finished the Mask of Fear. I may or may not have an essay sitting in my inbox that I haven't opened because I haven't actually started the Mask of Fear yet.
That's very fair. So anyways, there's this line, no context, where essentially Palpatine and his cronies are being likened to boys with the keys to the candy store. And they just need to be like restrained. And that hit me. I was like,
ooh.
And it's said by a character that it actually was one of the first times I was like, okay, I might actually agree with you at some point in time. But I just thought that was so interesting because I was like, at first I was like, no, I feel like that's not taking them seriously. But I'm like, that's taking them about as seriously as anyone who has to watch them bitch at each other and fight amongst themselves. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They can't seem Dedra is the only one with clarity of purpose in the ISB, and that makes her dangerous.
It's also a really, I think, clever and fun writing choice with the character of Dedra. Not to make this too much on the character of Dedra, because I don't want to take that topic away from someone else.
Yeah.
But I think with regards to the character of Dedra, the most effective choice for her that Tony Gilroy did was to make her so sympathetic in her early episodes. Make her somebody trying to get ahead in her environment who is having to deal with all of these stupid men who don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Have her be somebody who is correct. She's right. Everything she says is correct. And have us root for her. And then you have the Bix scene.
Yeah.
Where she starts torturing Bix. And you remember, oh, right, this is one of the bad guys.
Yeah. And I also like that even after that, they did try to give you that other moment in the last episode where you're like kind of fearful for her because she's on the ground. She's like pretty much defenseless and she's being dragged off. And then Cyril grabs her. And for the briefest moment, I did not realize it was him grabbing her. And I was like, she's gonna end up dead. And then it was him. And I let out a sigh of relief because I was like, she is such a good bad guy that I don't want to lose her at this point in the game. I need her around for longer. I need her to continue what she's doing in season 2 at an office level, but like, you know, I still kind of want to, you know, push her off of like a building for what she did to Bix. Like, it's that balance, I think, where in one environment you can, you know, feel for her, and then any other environment you're like, you kind of suck. You suck a lot, you know?
And I think that's something Gilroy does so well with his characters over the course of Andor and over the course of particularly the back third of Rogue One that he reshot, is creating these characters who, while we can root for them in certain situations, and then other situations, we look at them and we go, what you're doing is wrong. It is difficult as a writer, and I think it is with today's audiences as well. I think that there are definitely conversations around, you know, particularly franchise characters where people seem to struggle to understand nuance and context in character. Yeah. And that characters have to be judged by moral extremes on one side or the other. A character has to be perfect and can do no wrong. Yeah. Or a character has to be the most vile thing to ever exist in the history of anything ever. And I think that with a good character, with somebody that is fleshed out and well-rounded and feels like a human being, particularly in such a grounded story as Andor, it is important to judge them based on the overall complexity of the character, right? Yeah. Look at Mon Mothma. Generally, there are many incorrect people online who will be like, Mon Mothma is responsible for creating the First Order. And I'm like, you are more fucking wrong than anything I have ever heard in my entire
life. Yeah, I get so defensive about it.
Now, am I going to sit here and say that the deceleration and decommissioning policies of the New Republic were good choice? No, not necessarily. But I think that adds to nuance of the character to be able to look at them and say, you have made some choices that I personally don't agree with, but I understand why you're making them. And the characters in Andor, particularly with Dedra in the ISB, because we are seeing the ISB through the lens of Dedra, it makes so much sense to look at her and go, on the one hand, I understand awful office politics.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the office politics are the fascist secret police state.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember there was one politician, I cannot remember who it was, who said that every politician thinks their office is the West Wing, and in reality, it's more like Veep.
That is a damn good quote. But yeah.
I don't remember who said that.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever said that, though.
Shout out to whoever said that for being so right.
They cooked with that one. Not gonna lie. Yeah. And also Blevin, I love to hate that man. He is such a dick.
So much.
The thing is, Ben Bailey Smith seems like such a nice guy, and then I'm like, you're playing a guy that I want to literally punch in the face. Like, consistently.
Well, he's somebody that feels so detached from the realities of the galaxy. Like, we see him, I love that scene where he goes and he talks to Cyril and those two other mall cops.
Yeah, that's essentially what they were.
Because that's what they are. They're the corporate security mall cops. Where he goes in and he's doing his whole menacing routine, but then he spends most of the rest of the time back at the office. And that whole time he's out there, he just seems so done with this meeting.
Yeah.
Like he wants to go back to the office and do office politics. And it's such a great disconnect to where Dedra is much more invested, I think, in what's happening.
Yeah.
And she doesn't see it in terms of these numbers on spreadsheets. She's looking for, in my day job, we would talk about it in terms of tell me the story of the thing I work at in my day job. Tell me what was the narrative here. And I think he's really fun because he's so wrapped up in the Excel sheets and she's trying to look for the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta see more of Blevin and Chloris interacting in season 2. I just need to know more of what Chloris is picking up from Mon being like, I know you're listening to me, so I'm gonna lay down a bunch of lies here.
Yeah. So
he just
I was gonna bring that up.
Back.
Not to bring this back to Mon Mothma again.
As we should.
But the very first scene that she appears in episode 4.
Yes.
Which, shout out to Claire from Fulcrum Transmissions for being on our episode 4 coverage over on Gold Squadron Gays, actually. In that very first scene, when she has her conversation with Luthen, and she's talking about the ISB spying on senators.
Yeah.
And she's talking about how they're not just replacing people in the staff, they're replacing people at the bank.
Yeah.
There's no separation of the financial system from the Imperial Security Bureau at this point.
No.
We're 15 years in. There's no checks. They've kicked everybody out and they've installed their own people in there, which is, as somebody who works in finance and used to work as a bank teller, like that was a day job I had a number of years ago, was I worked as a bank teller. Even just being a bank teller right now, the amount of scrutiny you're under is insane. And that the ISB is regularly rotating people out to spy. And it's all coming back to them. Like Chloris, the driver, is coming back. Like Mon doesn't even get to really pick her own driver.
Yeah.
She gets choices, but all those choices were from the ISB. Like the amount of surveillance they're having on people who should be in charge of the Empire is insane to me. And Andor communicates that so well, even as early as the very first time we ever see Coruscant in episode 4.
Yeah. Because the first time we see Coruscant, it is that first ISB scene where we meet Dedra, and Blevin's like, oh yeah, there was that corporate security fiasco on Ferrix. They found the Starpath unit, which ultimately leads to Dedra going on her quest to get to the bottom of that, which gives her essentially like control of Ferrix by the end of it, right? And then we get to see Mon, and like Luthen gets it to a point, but the Empire doesn't know that he exists. They don't really know that he's a threat, right? At most, to them, he's a chain code. Mon is surrounded by the Empire, and every single day she is more enclosed because of the scrutiny that she is under with the ISB, which makes every move that she's making in this show that much harder. Everything she's doing up until the time she cuts her hair and runs away from Coruscant after calling Palpatine the fuck out, it makes it that much more difficult for her to be able to do that. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, how can you live with this much stress and still look this good?
Her whole plot in season 1 is about money laundering.
Yeah.
She's
committing crimes.
It's about the fact that someone's gonna balance her bank statements that is not her financial advisor, and they are gonna figure out credits are not in a ledger that should be in a ledger. That's the whole plot, and that's the degree of power that all these people have. That's one of the really terrifying things about a fascist system, is the degree of power and control that these awful people sitting around a boardroom table sniping at each other because they're terrible have over this woman's financial statements or over the life and death of an entire planet. And it's just a couple of guys. And Dedra's also here. I don't think we see any other female ISB agents.
We see there's one in episode 4. She sat next to Legrette. Supervisor Grandy. Yeah, she's the one who, it's just like, oh, why do you need this money? She's like, oh, to investigate anti-imperial activity as always. Girl, like, that is so vague. And I'm glad Partagaz calls her out for that. Because he's like, are you being like intentionally vague? Like, what are you doing here? You need to tell me what you're doing with this.
Major Partagaz is one of my single favorite characters from Andor. Shout out to Anton Lesser. One, for making the last 4 or so seasons of Game of Thrones actually tolerable. I recently rewatched the entire show when I was unemployed a couple of years ago. Please do not do that. It will severely harm your mental health. Yes, the last 3 or so seasons are as bad as you remember. But also shout out to Anton Lesser for just having an absolute ball with this character of Major Partagaz, because he's so corporate manager. He's so, well, I encourage a frank exchange of ideas. And I'm like, I've worked for managers like you. I've worked for bosses like you. I hated them so much, I named villains in books I write after them a decade later because I hated them that much. I know what you're about. That's what I did.
Tony did? Like, that would be banger. If,
I would
if
also
Tony
like
was
to
just
know
like,
if I need to know if Partagaz is based on some like studio executive that Tony Gilroy has had to deal with, because he feels personal.
Yeah, I had a district manager like that once, and I was like, I was twitching every single time I had to see him, and I was like, one of these days. And then his car got stolen.
I also, I will say, I also love, again, in the subtlety of the writing, shout out to Tony Gilroy. We should be teaching entire college courses on Rogue One.
Yes.
But not even Rogue One, but on Andor and Rogue One.
Yeah.
But there's the scene in episode 7 where the opening scene of it, and after we spent 3 whole episodes with Major Partygast sitting at the head of the table, and Yularen walks in, and you don't even need to know who that is. If you recognize the mustache, you immediately know something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But if you don't, just the fact that somebody kicked Partygast out of his seat means that his district manager has now shown up.
Yeah.
Because you have dropped the ball that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, oh, I remember it was 3:00 in the morning. And I was like, after Andor, I'm probably not going to be able to sleep because I feel like this episode's going to be that good. It's going to grip me that much. Sure enough, it did. I watched it 3 times and then promptly passed out because I could not keep my eyes open any longer. And I didn't have subtitles on at first. And I heard him speak. And I was like, that's not who I think it is, right? And my partner was like, yeah, I've got subtitles on. I know who you're talking about. Yes, it is. And I was like, Yularen. I'm like, that's where we're at. We're pulling out that big gun this early. He will survive the show. He doesn't last long after the end of Andor because he go boom with Death Star. But, you know, just seeing him, I was like, I was not expecting it. And if I had been sat in that conference room, let's just say white uniform would not be white. There would be a brown stain. That's how freaked out I would be.
I mean, this is a dude who was Darth Vader's. Nobody knows he was Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker, but this was a dude who was Darth Vader's right-hand man during the Clone Wars.
Yep.
Like, well, maybe Rex was his right-hand man, but Yularen was one of his right hands. This is a dude who regularly interacts with Emperor Palpatine. Like, he comes in and he talks about Palpatine, which, again, part of the brilliance of Andor, you never see Palpatine.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, from the way he talks, had to be in the meeting with Palpatine, who just got woken up
with
at 3:00 in the morning. And he had to be in the meeting, and then he came down here, and like the way that scene is filmed, the way that he just has so much gravitas in this moment, again, without you even having to know who this guy is.
Yeah.
It goes to show that, the ISB squabbles, but they also know like how serious things can get.
Yeah. And things are about to get also very, very serious again in season 2.
Yes.
Because
it's gonna keep getting worse.
There is almost certainly going to be another big scary meeting, probably with Yularen, after Mon is able to leave Coruscant. And properly give that speech to form the rebellion. Because, you know, I just know Price got shouted at for not being able to capture her, right? Price and Constantine have already been yelled at for like 45 minutes because she was like, oh yeah, I can do it. And Thrawn's like, yeah, take Constantine with you. And then they fail. It's just like,
you know,
died a season early.
You know that Thrawn is like just sitting outside that meeting room because he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. He's washed his hands of the whole thing. He's just sitting there outside with a cigarette, just like, yep, I'm just going to wait for them to be done.
Yeah. If they come out alive, great.
Well, and it's also, she's also a sector governor.
Yeah.
Is part of it, which is, again, very interesting with like who the ISB chooses to go after. Because they're going after senators in Andor. They're going after these like voice of the people, whatever. I will bet you anything there are no files on Grand Moff Tarkin.
Oh, definitely not.
There is not a single one on any governors.
Nope.
Like,
and if someone were to make one, it would be disappeared.
It would be gone because it's a deeply corrupt system.
Exactly. And they can't stand the idea of being held accountable. Like, one of the reasons Mon is targeted so heavily is because she was like, hey, maybe we should be investigating some of these war crimes that apparently the Imperial military is committing. And it's like, you wanted to do what? Did you just say you want to die?
Do you want accountability? No, we don't do that here.
Right.
Thank you. I don't think that they mentioned the Gorman massacre in season 1 of Andor just for no reason.
No.
Because the Gorman massacre predates Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
It's from an older piece. It's like a Legends role-playing guide, I think was where it originally comes from. And so I don't know if we're going to see it, but I do know the catastrophic failure of that being what causes Mon Mothma to be like, you know what, fuck the Emperor and fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
I have always wondered how she managed to get off of Coruscant.
Yeah.
And I do think we may find that out. There's scenes from the trailer that I have thoughts about. And then I have seen some like behind the scenes photos that were taken that led me to believe that I do think we are going to see how she gets off of Coruscant. And I do think it's going to be interesting to see how anybody who might be involved in that puts their various skills to use to escape this ISB net, because this is the center of their power. This is where their eye is the most focused. And it's real easy to bully senators when they're mostly staying in line.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of push them around a bit to remind them of their place.
Yeah.
But not when a senator has actively got rebel agents trying to get her out.
Yeah. I know from the Rebel Files book that Leia and Bail were both interrogated following Mon's escape, which makes sense. The Empire knows very well of the affiliation between Mon and the Organas. And, you know, if Tarkin said anything about that dinner party that he went to on Alderaan...
I was going to say, I think they might think the affiliation's a little closer than it actually is. I think there are some notes in Mon's file about a certain dinner party that
I feel like if Blevin had to write that, he'd be holding the pen like this. If he was doing it by pen, just like trying to not come close to those words on the page at all. Just like, they're having an affair. I need Cloris to come out and be like, I think...
Pendergast reading it.
Just like, what? I need it to happen in season 2 with Tay, just because I'm like, this is just such a good cover for Mon, because you look at the state of her marriage, and it's just like, nothing's happening there. Like, you can poke it with a stick and be like, do something, and nothing is happening in that marriage. And then, you know, she has like male friends that are just really attractive, and like she could be slightly somewhat flirtatious with them, and it's just like, I want Cloris to see something in season 2 and go scampering back to Blevin to be like, she's having an affair with the chairman of her charity. It's I just think it would be so funny, just Blevin having to bring that to Partagaz. It's like, what's she doing? Having another affair.
I love the idea of manufacturing this drama. Like, she's doing a whole manufactured, like, soap opera. And meanwhile, the ISB is having, like, debates. I recently found out, I was discussing with my Gold Squadron co-host, Bradley. His day job is he is a production person for reality TV shows.
Yeah.
So he works on a lot of reality TV. And so we were talking about TikTok FYPs, and we were discussing how his are very different than mine. And he said one of the things he gets is like these podcasts about reality TV shows, particularly ones that he's worked on. And he will get these like people that sit around and all they do is talk about Temptation Island. And I'm like, I just imagine that's how these ISB meetings are going. Where they're sitting here, like, trying to figure out how this season of Sneaky Sexy Senators is going to end. Like, I don't even feel like I need to finish that with more of a sentence. I feel like that's where the period in the sentence should go. I think I've ended the sentence.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible person, by the way.
That is the funniest
just in case,
I've heard all day.
Just in case the audience was wondering, I'm an awful person.
Look, I will ship Mon with any man that looks at her and treats her with respect. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, probably so does someone in the ISB.
Yeah.
You know she has someone in there rooting for her.
Yeah. Who's the one writing?
Partagast.
Yeah, who's the one writing weird fan fiction about her and Bale?
It's Partagast. Partagast is the most into all of this. Like, he's the one sitting in his office reading reports with his, I don't know, chai tea latte or something, for just like, yes, a new installment. A hot new bombshell has entered the senatorial.
Partagast's AO3 account. I need Brea to find Partagast's AO3 account and then forward all those fics to Mon and Bale and be like, you guys have an admirer. And then Mon and Bale are speculating who it is. And no one guesses Partagast from the ISB.
Not Partagast ships RPF.
Partagast RPF ship.
Oh my god, Partagast RPF shipper confirmed. Jesus. Lord. I'm in. I'm centered. I'm talking about Star Wars.
The ISB is a mess.
The ISB is a mess. And I do think that is something that will be interesting to see in season 2. And that's sort of my last thing that I think is really interesting to see in season 2 is I want to see how this starts to unravel.
Yeah.
Because eventually this system will break down. Now, Andor season 2 is going to end 5 minutes before the Battle of Yavin. Like, not long before the Battle of Yavin. And the ISB will continue after this point, but I don't think we see a lot of them.
No.
After this point. And it's very decentralized. So, like, I need to know what happened here. Yeah. I need to know how this organization naturally disintegrated.
Yeah.
Because that is part of the thing with these authoritarian systems. Ultimately, they disintegrate.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that keeps me hopeful in dark times. Yeah. Looking historically at them, they never last. And it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 50 years. They do eventually break down.
Yeah.
And they ultimately are self-defeating because freedom, as Nemec says, is a pure ideal.
Yeah.
And that I think about that speech daily. Absolute masterclass in monologue writing, Tony Gilroy.
And Alex Lothar for delivering it too. Just
Alex Lothar.
My god.
I saw him in The End of the Fucking World. And I was like, yeah, this kid's pretty good. And then I saw him in Andor and I was like, Jesus, this kid can act.
Yeah.
That's ultimately where I want to see it go in season 2.
Yeah. And I think, like, outside of that, the idea that the Empire like, it's an idea that the Empire requires Palpatine. Now, yes, the Empire survives a little bit longer following the death of Palpatine, but really, he is the glue that kind of holds that system together. So once he's gone, all you have is a succession crisis, right? Because there is no one person to take up the torch and be like one person that everyone will actually agree on, because everyone wants that power. Whereas if Mon Mothma had fallen, Leia would have taken up the torch of the rebellion and kept that going. That was a big part of like Aftermath and everything. And also a lot of Mon and Leia's journey throughout the original trilogy and other texts, because it was like, hey, if anything happens to me, you are the leader of the rebellion. Right. And Mon doesn't need to make a grand statement of, yeah, if I die, Leia's in charge. Everyone kind of knows that already, right? And they respect it. The Empire could not manage to do that. And that's one of the reasons why it was so limited to that span of time, essentially, I think.
Guys, please watch The Death of Stalin. It's so funny, but also will illustrate this so well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good movie. All right. I think we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but what are you most looking forward to in Andor season 2? Like, what's a scene that you want to see play out?
I need Perrin Firtha to get pushed off a building. And I'm really interested to see a little more from Lita Mothma.
Mm-hmm.
I think she got pretty unfairly maligned in season 1 by the fan base for being a teenage girl rebelling against her liberal mother by going super conservative.
Yeah.
And I am very interested to see what they do with her.
Mm-hmm.
Where there are shots from the trailer that I theorize are from her wedding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
So I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But we also don't know what happened. We have no frame of reference for what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know Perrin's out of the picture.
Yeah.
And frankly, that's what he deserves. That man sucks. I'm not going to cry big weepy tears when something inevitably happens to Perrin Firtha. I will be cheering for this man's demise at all times. But Lita's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
We do know that in Legends, Mon had a son who served in the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
And she went into the briefing at the Battle of Andor. This was one of the moments that made me be like, am I a Mon Mothma stan? I think I'm a Mon Mothma stan. Was when I found out she had a son who died at Hoth, found out he died, and then went and did the briefing in Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
The absolute strength of will that took was incredible.
Yeah.
But Lita, we don't really know. She's from Legends, or Mon having a daughter is from Legends as well, but we don't really know what happened to her there either.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see. Tony Gilroy doesn't write one-dimensional characters.
No.
So I'm really interested to see, especially over 4 years, because Lita is a teenage girl, and she's going to grow a lot over those 4 years.
Yeah.
This is a period of very rapid growth for her, and particularly growing up in this time of deep political instability. I'm very excited to see what happens with her, with her relationship with Mon. I am terrified of the fact that she is not ever mentioned anywhere after this.
Yeah.
But I am real interested to see where this is going, because as much as I hate Perrin Firtha, I don't have the same thing for the teenage daughter. That would be a little bit weird.
Yeah, like why are you beefing with a 14-year-old girl?
Why are you beefing with a 14-year-old girl? Like, what's going on here?
She was mean to Mon. I feel like she's a lot more nuanced than people give her credit for. And The only thing that could make me be like, I don't want to see Perrin die is because hasn't Mon been through enough? And
yeah, and I do think one really interesting thing that they did in season 1, Perrin also isn't one-dimensional. I hate him, but that's personal beef. Like, I hate him personally. Me, Charles, personally hates him.
Yeah.
He's not a badly written character, and he's not a one-dimensional character. He gets screwed over at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, to be someone who clearly had a problem.
Yeah.
And to have that problem necessarily weaponized.
Yeah.
Against you within this system. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, there are layers to this particular character, and like we also see in the party scene, there's a party scene where he's kind of entertaining. When he and Mon are on, when they're on together, you can see how this marriage worked in the early years of the marriage. When it's just them and they're whining and dining senators and they're talking together, they are just totally in sync, totally in step. At least until Tay walks in. Wonder what's going on there. Anyway.
Jealousy. I wonder if Perrin's eyes are green.
Look, I'm just saying, Perrin, she could do better, and you know she could do better.
Look, my beef with Perrin is that, like, I would be so much of a better spouse than him. I wouldn't, like, she'd be coming home from work, and she'd be like, I don't want this dinner to happen tonight, you know, just no. I'd be like, it's canceled. Done. Immediately. I don't care. You want a nap? You want a shoulder rub? 100%. I'll play soothing music and like do whatever you need me to do. I'm built different. I'd be a better wife than he is a husband. That's my beef.
Yeah, God. It's these rich people. That's the thing too, is like clearly he would never lower himself to any of that because you know he comes from money. You know this is a political marriage.
Yeah.
This is an arranged marriage. Like, they didn't have a say in this.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Which I remember when that was announced.
Everyone lost their minds. I was like, I remember people like, wait, what do you mean Mon Mothma is in an arranged marriage? And this was like after episode 4. I'm like, did you see the way she interacted with that man?
Well, I remember when it got announced that she got married at 16 and people were like, what the fuck?
I was like, okay, let me see, because there's got to be more to this. And then I saw them interact and I was like, oh, this feels...
Wait. I just realized something in my brain. How old is Lita? How old is Lita in season 1?
She's a year younger than Luke and Leia, so she's about 13, 14.
That's definitely her wedding.
Yeah.
Because Mon got married at 16.
Yeah.
I think that's why they did that.
Yeah.
I think it's so Lita can get married at 16 in season 2.
Yeah.
There we go. I have put the pieces together. I have cracked the case.
Yeah.
I have put the strings on the board.
Is there a dart in Perrin's face?
There are several. I have a dartboard, actually. I don't actually literally have a dartboard. My former roommates that I lived with in Tennessee had a dartboard with a political figure's face on it. It was a...
No, can't place it. I know personally, mine would be Ted Cruz. I was born in the same hospital as Ted Cruz in Calgary, Alberta, and that shame has carried me through life. Anytime I need to be humbled, I'm like, just remember, you were born in the same hospital as Ted Cancun Cruz.
I have an equally bad birthday story because for the last 4 years, I have had personal beef with one Joseph R. Biden. I have beef with Joseph R. Biden for a number of things. However, one of my biggest points of beef with this man is the fact that he and I were born on the same day.
No.
Yep.
I have beef with a certain group of people because they decided to do an insurrection on Genevieve O'Reilly's birthday.
Oh my fucking God.
January 6th is Genevieve O'Reilly's birthday, and I feel weird celebrating it.
So
I had to kick off the countdown to the Mask of Fear on Genevieve O'Reilly's birthday because that's just how it happened to be, right? And then the last day we get the Andor, like the day before the Mask of Fear, we get the Andor trailer, and I'm like, this is all so much for me. And I'm sat there with a cupcake next to me, and I'm like, it feels weird to be celebrating on this day. Genevieve, I also have friends who were born on September 11th. And in their entire conscious lives, they've never known peace.
See, I got a nice one because one of my work anniversaries, I will not say what occurred on this day at my work, but something monumental occurred. Actually occurred on January 3rd, which is John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's birthday.
Yeah.
Which is regularly celebrated. So I get to celebrate two things that day. I remember being asked, actually, I was interviewed about a year after the January 6th insurrection. I was interviewed for someone's college project. And I was asked because I kind of watched the whole thing unfold.
Yeah.
I was interviewed and I was asked a bunch of questions, and I was kind of the centerpiece of this guy's project.
Yeah.
Because I was in a position to actively be watching the news as it was happening.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he was like, so do you have any like final overall messaging? Like what do you want to say with regards to this? And I was like, I am so glad you asked. Let me tell you about Star Wars and the New Republic. And I went off for several paragraphs about The Force Awakens in what had otherwise been a very serious conversation about insurrection and all of that was occurring at the Capitol. I was like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this back to Star Wars somehow.
Yeah.
Because I'm ultimately going to end up bringing up Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings, or Dragon Age. In any context, I'm going to bring up one of these three things.
Yep. Yeah, that's me. I'm always like, how can I make this conversation about Mon Mothma? And
how can we make this conversation about Mon Mothma?
She's my reason for waking up in the morning. All right. With regards to original characters to Andor, who is your favorite? And let's go, who's your least favorite as well?
Oh boy, who is my favorite character that is original to Andor? Yeah. I noticed you added that clarification because you knew what my answer was going to be otherwise. God, I think it changes every time I watch it. I think my favorite may be, I honestly think it might be Luthen Rael.
Okay.
I think he's one of the most interesting characters that they've done. That he feels so original to this story, and like nothing I've seen before in a character from canon or Legends. But I also feel like necessarily it makes sense to have someone who's trying to coordinate between these rebel groups, but will ultimately fail. Yeah. But ultimately sets the stage for Mon and Bail and all of them to really form the Rebel Alliance. But if you ask me on a different day, I might say Dedra Miro. If you ask me on a different day, I might say Dedra Miro's gay little assistant. I don't know. My least favorite character is Perrin Firtha.
I knew it.
Fuck that man. I hate him so much. I despise him with every fiber of my being. I loathe him. Very first thing when I wake up in the morning, I think about how much I hate him, and I go to sleep thinking about how much I despise that man's utter existence. I truly despise every single breath that man takes. Do I have any other contenders for least favorite character? None that come anywhere remotely close to him. Honorary mention goes to I forget the captain's name that's played by Rhaegar Targaryen. I know he has a name.
Oh my gosh.
Fuck-ass tosses the blanket over B2 and kicks him.
Oh, that
guy.
That guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say that the only character I hate more than Perrin is Tim. I'm like, Bix, if you're gonna cry over a man, cry over a better man.
That one?
Why that one? Like, if Mon were to, if Perrin dies and Mon cries, I will understand. They have decades of marriage under their belt. They have a child together. You know, I would understand that. I'd be like, I get why you're upset. But crying over Tim.
Here's what makes me so fucking angry about this character is you might have beef with members of your community.
Yeah.
You're gonna. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
That is how things work.
Yeah.
You're gonna have beef with members of your community. You're not gonna like each other. You may even hate each other. That's fine. That's life. You do not sell members of your own marginalized community out to the fucking feds.
Nope.
Are you kidding me, Tim? Are you fucking kidding me right now?
Everyone at risk. He put everyone at risk. He put Ferrix at risk. The reason that Marva's funeral had to be that way was because of Tim.
And he didn't think through the consequences of his actions.
No.
He was thinking very narrowly about his specific problem and how to solve it.
Yeah.
And what he was concerned about.
Yeah.
And no, do not rat. Okay? Do not snitch, Tim. Yeah. And he did get what was coming to him.
He did. And Bix, I hope you get a better man so that if you have to cry over another man, at least he'll be better than Tim.
I mean, Brasso's right there.
Brasso's right there. Brasso is hot. He takes care of the people that he cares about. He's a good friend. He doesn't rat people out. He was like, Cassian was like, oh, here's like a little alibi that I came up with. And Brasso's like, I'm gonna make it even better. You fell over in my house, and that's how you ended up with the cut on your cheek, because we got into an argument about what I had to drink. He's like,
there you go.
I'm not throwing you under the bus.
Tim and Brasso's right there. Come on. Bix
doesn't snitch. Brasso doesn't snitch. And it's not lost on me that Tim is white and Tim snitched. And I say that as a white person. Like,
Interesting.
Gee, can't imagine why. All right, this one's going to be, I think, the most difficult question.
Okay.
What are your favorite things about Mon Mothma?
Oh, geez. There's so many. Mon is someone that I think always is cognizant of her role on the galactic stage in a way that many other leaders of the rebellion and many other people who are involved in the rebellion do not understand. She understands that every single moment that she is living under could potentially be broadcast or scrutinized. And not just in the sense of she's literally making pronounced broadcasts to the galaxy. We see her wandering around rebel ships after she has defected over to the rebellion, and constantly in books like is it Lost Stars? She does this in the Rogue One comic adaptation. I'm pretty sure she also does this in Alphabet Squadron, where she's just wandering around being somebody that rebels can talk to. that they can express their feelings to. And then surprise, it was literally the leader of the rebellion that you were having these conversations with.
Poor drunk Thane Kyrell.
Poor drunk Thane Kyrell, which I think it's something that she's keenly aware of, that rebels look to her a certain way, the galaxy looks to her a certain way, and she always carries herself with this dignity. Now, we also see that she does have her private moments, and especially in the Fakpov books, No Contingency, I think about you like daily. Like, she is somebody who has a lot going on, even if from the outside she always seems like she has it together. She never breaks. Even when Saw Gerrera is berating her outside of the Yavin temple, she never breaks. She never lets emotionality rule her decision making, but she's also aware that she cannot be totally coldly logical the whole time. She genuinely, when she constantly has to tell people, because she has to do this all the time, when she constantly has to tell people, we can't spare the resources for that, you can feel, because it's mostly Genevieve O'Reilly doing this, you can feel how much it breaks her heart to have to tell Ezra Bridger, like, no, we can't commit forces to Lothal. To have to tell people we can't do this. But I also think that she's somebody who's can be rallied around. That's something that none of the other rebel leaders had. And that's something she seems very aware of, is that people need someone to rally around, but not somebody to be set up as a dictator like Palpatine set himself up. When we talk about rallying around Mon, it's rallying around the ideals that she espouses and that she represents. I think there's a reason the New Republic starts falling apart the second she leaves.
And why in Bloodline, they're like, oh, well, you know, we could just wait until she comes back. And it's just like, she might never be able to come back. Like, she is very elderly. She's sick, you know.
She's old, guys.
She is old. And like what you said about like someone to rally around, that's a point in Leia, Princess of Alderaan as well. When Leia's like, maybe it's not a flag we'll rally around, but a person. And she's like, it's got to be Mon, right? So even if Leia's thinking this, Leia, another prominent leader of the rebellion, can see that. Everyone else around them can as well, you know?
In Legends, Garm Bel Iblis's whole beef with her, which we do not have time for me to go off on the Thrawn trilogy right now, but speaking objectively, Garm Bel Iblis's whole beef with her is he thinks that she is setting herself up as this replacement to Palpatine. That she's going to ultimately try to take power. It's going to become about her. And then there's this whole scene where she has to, like, he won't take Coruscant's defenses unless she personally, like, turns them over to it's the whole thing. I love how in canon that doesn't really happen. How it's just so readily apparent that no, there is absolutely no way in hell that Mon is going to want something that selfishly for herself. That she is a public servant, at least by the time we get to the rebellion, she is a public servant in every sense of what a public servant should be. Just someone that is always thinking about the public she is serving first. Is she doing financial crimes in Andor? Yes. Do I disagree with her liberal politics quite often? Also, yes. But I do think that quite a few real life politicians could learn from her whole understanding what the service first mentality should be. That her job is to serve the people. And I think she exemplifies that throughout her career as a senator, throughout her career as a rebel leader, and throughout her career as the Chancellor of the New Republic that we have seen so far.
Oh, that's really eloquent. My favorite thing would be I'm in love with her. And I want to wrap her up in a blankie and give her tea. That's just generally how I feel about her. I wake up and I'm like, I want to wrap her in a blanket and give her some tea.
I just want to have a beer with this woman. Like,
I feel like be so much fun to have a drink with.
Yeah, just like sit down with a beer and be like, what are your thoughts on this? Please share them with me.
What is
I would
going on?
also love to take this woman to a drag show.
She'd have the time of her life. I just know it.
I know she would be clearly having a time of her life, but she would never break the whole time.
Yeah.
No matter what they said to her, she would never break.
Yeah.
And I respect that about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm having panic about season 2, and specifically why I'm having panic is there's this moment in the trailer where she's turned to look at the camera. She's at her daughter's wedding, and she looks freaked the fuck out. By something. Mon Mothma never breaks in public.
No.
Never. It is at home, alone, or to Vel.
Yeah.
In one of the best acted scenes in the whole fucking show.
Yeah.
She never breaks in public. Something is making her break in public.
Yeah. And that scene where we see Krennic, because there's the scene where Krennic's like looking at someone. I know the shape of the side of Genevieve O'Reilly's face, and I'm 99.9% sure the way that everyone, when we got that Ahsoka teaser, was thinking like, is that Lars Mikkelsen? And they were doing math with Lars Mikkelsen's head. That is me right now, because I'm pretty sure that's Skulden in the background. And I'm like, so...
Speaking of gay people that need to stay away from Mon Mothma, Orson Krennic, get away from her.
Please, Krennic, stay away from her. My post on Blue Sky, get a job, stay away from her.
But also, I'm not unconvinced because some of my friends have been making very good cases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not unconvinced up to a certain point. I'm just saying, you can make a case, but also stay away from her.
Yeah.
I'm in a weird position with this one. I need to see what the dynamic is. Because Ben Mendelsohn is also very hot and charming.
He is. This is two hot and charming people. And I'm like...
Hot, charming men.
I'm like, this could be really hot. But stay away from her. Like, I want to see how it would go, but stay away from her. Yeah.
I'm kind of like, it's like a stop sign, but it's a stop sign that's been hit by a car. So it's like leaning to the side. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Look, a case could be made.
A case could be strongly made.
A case could be strongly made. Mon, if you need the ISB off your back for a little while, here's a great way. It'll end terribly. But
Mon, I think this man should stay away from you. If something does happen, I also don't blame you. I need you to understand, whatever you do in this case, I think you will make the right choice.
Yes. I trust her to make the right decision.
Or a really correct wrong choice.
Yeah.
As previously mentioned, I'm a horrible person.
If anything happens, it's going to be like, okay, even if it's great, this feels illegal. It feels illegal.
That's a shot in the trailer that just feels illegal.
It is.
I don't know what's happening here, but it feels wrong.
Like, I'm like, why is Krennic putting the smolder on? Like,
because that's just his face. That's Ben Mendelsohn's face.
That's true.
It's naturally smoldery. I am so excited he is in season 2 because I know Tony Gilroy's gonna cook something with him.
It's gonna be good. I'm also happy to see Draven back. I will never be over Alexander Freed writing that bit in the Rogue One novel where that private is... So in the movie, the private is running. In the film, Merrick stops him. In the book, it's Draven. And Mon is like, he looks like he's taking down a would-be assassin. And it's like, she's frightened, but also slightly aroused. She's like, he will throw a man to the ground if a man comes near me. Someone runs up to me,
have to consider, like, how many times has the Empire tried to kill this woman?
That's true. How many assassination attempts is this woman gonna survive?
The amount of times that the US tried to kill Fidel Castro,
yeah,
probably comparable to that many times, but in like a 3-year period.
Yeah.
Now I want to know who the ISB agent was that was trying to come up with ways to like assassinate Mon Mothma, but they keep coming up with the stupidest stuff possible.
Yeah, it's like, that's never gonna work.
We're gonna put a blimp full of coaxium and send it from Coruscant to wherever and just kind of hope it's like truly some of the ways that the US tried to take out Castro.
Yeah.
Some of them just like points for originality.
Like, these are like, what? This is how.
One of them, one of their wackier writers would have a field day with writing that. One of their wackier writers would love. Give it to Alyssa Wong. It's going to be the craziest stuff you've ever met in your seen in your life. Like
Alyssa Wong just like writing this it would just be so funny. It's like one of the like similar to a Fact Pop short story. Just that it would just be the most unhinged shit ever. And
this was the person who canonized Cannibal Ewoks.
That is true. That is true. After we've been joking about it for ages.
Thank you, Alyssa Wong. You do know what the people want.
I love them so much. And on a daily basis, I have at least one moment where I am just embodying Alyssa's chai at Celebration. You know the picture. The one where it's flipped upside down on the ground.
I think about Just Lucky almost every day of my life. Mm-hmm. My phone background was Just Lucky for an extended period of time.
Mine is currently Mon Mothma on the Celebration art. Like the Celebration art, I'm really hoping that's the speaker badge. Because if I'm doing a Mon Mothma panel wearing a Mon Mothma badge, I don't like typically wearing my convention badges around my neck. I will wear that with pride.
Bradley and I were discussing like theorizing which badge.
Yeah.
Because they put my favorite character in Star Wars on badge art, which is Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
And they put his favorite character, which is Asajj Ventress, on badge art. And so we were like, one of us has got to get the badge for the character.
Yeah.
Like, we're really hoping one of us gets it.
Yeah.
Because we both really want those badges. My phone lock screen is my husband and the love of my life. Not my actual IRL boyfriend, but rather Fenris from Dragon Age. My boyfriend knew this when he started dating me.
That's fair.
He was well aware that the love of my life was a fictional elven man from 2011 RPG Dragon Age 2. He's on my wall behind me.
My partner, so essentially after The Last Jedi came out, there was a whole bunch of issues, and I stepped back from the Star Wars fandom, didn't talk very much about it, kind of like recluse myself.
Can't imagine why.
Then, right? As an Amelin Haldo fan, I wonder why I would make that choice. Couldn't be toxicity on the internet and threats, but
let me tell you, being an Amelin Holdo defender and being a white straight passing man, even that ain't fun.
Nope.
I don't blame you at all.
It's and then so essentially he brought me back because he was like, I want to watch The Mandalorian, and I was like, I'll watch it with you, okay? Because I've heard good things about it. And that, I think, was the worst mistake he ever made in his entire life, because look at us now. And on a daily basis, he has to hear me gush about Mon Mothma and how much I love her and how I would do anything for her. And at one point, I asked him, I was like, "Are you jealous of Mon Mothma?" And he was like, "A little bit." A little bit. And I was like, "That's good. Stay that way." You always have to know that she's very special to me. But I'm like, it's your fault. You brought me back.
I was in Star Wars from when it was around 5 or 6. I tell people it was 6. I know it was around kindergarten at some point. I tell people it was 6 so I can quote Rogue One. I was in it from 6 to about 18.
Yeah.
And important context for the story, I grew up in a very religious conservative household. I was myself very religious and conservative until I was 18 and kissed a man and started thinking things that caused me to reevaluate my entire life. But I, because of the Clone Wars movie, broke up with Star Wars for a while. And also, I was really mad at Fate of the Jedi. For reasons I couldn't figure out at the time, I was really mad at Fate of the Jedi. Yeah. So I came back to Star Wars when The Force Awakens was announced. I watched the Clone Wars. At that point, it was 2012. I'd gone back to college. So I briefly dropped out and then I went back. And I watched the Clone Wars TV show and I was like, I don't know what toxic little 18-year-old me was on about. 1, the show is great. 2, Ahsoka's a fantastic character. I don't know what was wrong with me. And then only several years later did I realize, yes, Ben Skywalker was about 14 in Legacy of the Force. And I was about 14 when I read Legacy of the Force. And he's about 18 in Fate of the Jedi. And I was about 17 when I read Fate of the Jedi. And that's the one where he gets a girlfriend. Oh, I think I just figured out why I got super mad at Fate of the Jedi. I think we've solved the mystery, guys. Surprise!
You were mad because he got a girlfriend.
I was mad because they gave him a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, that boy should be a homo. Specifically because I'm into him.
That is so fair. That is so fair.
Did not realize that at the time, but
is there anything else we want to say about the ISB or Andor season 2 or anything?
Let the lesbians kiss on screen, please.
Please. Please.
Please.
Just please. I'll be very, very nice on the internet if the lesbians are allowed to kiss.
The fact that the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew both had lesbians.
Yeah.
Both that had children.
Yeah.
And that neither of these pairings, despite one of the two having a moment that would have been perfect for it, none of the two were allowed to kiss on screen is bullshit. And also, I don't think we've had a confirmed canonically gay man in a piece of visual media yet. They're all over the books, but I'm really struggling to think of one in visual media and I can't come up with it. Also bullshit.
Yeah.
Star Wars, fix your representation. Stop going half-assed with the visual media.
Yeah.
There is a scene in the trailer that has me thinking something's coming. The first step, Tony Gilroy, I'm trusting you. Let the lesbians kiss for longer than 7 seconds.
Please.
That's all I'm asking.
I want it to
be. We can start with that.
Like, I want it to be like when I fell off of my bed during Agatha All Along because Agatha and Rio kissed. That's how I want to feel again.
I still could not believe that happened.
I sometimes have to go back and watch it because I'm like, did I imagine this? And then my leg will just slightly throb and it's like, no, there was a bruise here because that happened. So yeah, that's how I want to feel again.
I don't give a fuck about the MCU anymore, except for whatever Jay Schaefer's doing.
Yeah.
Whatever Jay Schaefer's doing, I will watch that.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
I need to know. I need to know what happens with spoilers for Agatha all along. Skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to know how it ends. Ghost lesbian and her little twink student running around. I need to know what happens next with them.
I need to. I need it. I need it like I need Sindri Rathalos on screen.
Why is he not?
Yeah.
Ahsoka
Where
season
is he?
2. Let's go.
Where is he?
Where is he?
Where is he?
Mm-hmm.
I also want him to
Aftermath.
mention...
You clearly read them. Cobb Vanth is in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You clearly at least read the Wikipedia entry.
Where is Mon Mothma's gay assistant? He also needs to mention Condor because Condor is his reason for doing 90% of the not terrible things that he does. He's like, it's to make this man happy. I will not punch you in the face because it will make him cry.
I just need him to say, like, my husband would be upset if I punched you.
Yeah. I want to see him square off with Xiono. I need Xiono to be humbled.
God.
The only good thing that man ever did was brought Kazuda into this world.
It's so true.
And it was barely his work.
The fact that Resistance got canceled and he never got his comeuppance for being awful.
Yeah.
Resistance season 3, guys.
Where are you? Where are you, Resistance season 3?
Where are you, Resistance season 3?
Where are you? I need Niku back, like I need oxygen.
I will never live down. We were just talking about this because we actually had, at time of recording this, we're in the middle of reviewing Skeleton Crew on Gold Squadron. Mm-hmm. And the last episode we recorded, we actually had Alex and Molly Damon from Star Wars Explained on.
I love that.
And we were talking about the Dragon Con trivia, where there was only one Resistance question. And it was about the Nikto. And I missed it. They asked me, what alien is this? And they showed a picture of the other Nikto, not Niku, who I would have known immediately, but the other Nikto.
Yeah.
They were like, what alien is this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm blanking. I got nothing. And my friend Hope in the audience, my co-host Bradley was in the audience, and I just face planted. So that will be my dying shame forever, is that I missed that Niktos can do that with their face.
Yeah.
Some of them can.
Yeah. That is a tragedy.
I really fucked up.
Forget the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. This is actually more tragic.
This is the real tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn those trivia things. Yeah, no, I missed a couple last year at our Star Wars trivia. I still managed to place like in the top 3 or 4. The top 3 the first time, top 4 in the second, and the only 3 people that were able to beat me were my partner and our 2 friends that were there with us. The 4 of us dominated the trivia, and we were like, yeah, we're a problem. We have no lives outside of Star Wars.
I took the Dragon contest because I just took it for fun.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a notoriously difficult test, et cetera, et cetera. I went to bed thinking, I self-graded, and I didn't think I did particularly well.
Yeah.
And I went to bed, and I got up to somebody having tagged me in the Dark Side Divas Discord, I think. It was either the Dark Side Divas Discord or the For Light and Dice Discord.
Yeah.
One of those 2 Discords, somebody tagged me. It's like, so is it true that you got the second highest score on the written portion? And I'm like,
what?
Apparently. I need to investigate this. I haven't even shaved or brushed my teeth or had coffee yet, but I'm going to go looking for this. And yes, it was true. That's how I found out, was somebody tagging me to be like, is it true you did this? You will not be surprised who was the one person that was higher than me on that. It was Alex Damon.
Yeah. I was like, it would have to be Alex Damon.
It will not surprise you who was higher than me.
Oh, Star Wars Explained. I love you. Alex and Molly are
so awesome.
I love
They're
them.
The
oh my
coolest
gosh.
people. Like,
yeah.
I will sing their praises forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. They are truly some of the coolest people. Like, I really respect them in particular for continuing to put out Star Wars content that's good. Because I remember watching their videos in 2017. I remember watching their videos in 2017.
Yeah.
And then watching their videos now in the year of, I almost said the year of Andraste because I got in the wrong franchise. The year of the Force to 2025, and it's the same stuff. They're just making Star Wars lore videos still.
Yeah.
And they do other stuff, but like the heart and soul of the channel and the content is they love Star Wars and they want to talk about it. And that, speaking as a content creator, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do, especially when you're in something for that long.
Yeah.
So I really respect them for doing it at the rate that they do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyways, I think that is probably it for tonight, maybe. It is after midnight for me.
Yes. It is slightly after 9 o'clock for me.
Yeah.
But I do have other things that unfortunately I always need to do. I am eternally busy. If you follow me on social media in any way, shape, or form, I will probably be complaining about how busy I am on all of the things that I personally chose to do.
Yeah, that's me as well. Yeah. I'm like, I got this to do. I'm complaining about it. It's like, you did this to yourself. Yeah.
My boyfriend's constantly bringing up the fact that, like, I'll say, yeah, I have to do this and such for the books, and I have to do this and such for the convention, and I have to do this and such podcast recording. He's like, you did this all to yourself, right? You actively chose to do all of this. And I went, yes, honey, I know. This was actively my choice. Anyway, I can carve out some time so we can watch Castlevania Nocturne, and I can complain about how they're wrong about Ursabet Bathory every single time she's on the screen, and not just because she's a vampire, but because she's my very specific historical niche hyperfixation. And I know so much about this woman, and there's a lot they got wrong about her. But that's its whole other podcast. That this is not that. Except to know that door should have been bricked up.
Yeah.
That door should have had bricks in it. If it's when I think you're supposed to have it, that door should have bricks in it. Also, I don't think it should be 1614. Moving on.
Yeah. And also, bricks belong in Star Wars. So there we go. Full circle again.
Also, bricks do belong in Star Wars. Now we've tangented back to Star Wars.
Hit fascists with bricks. Perfect. That's our advice
Always
here.
Always hit fascists with bricks. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, Charles. It means, honestly, the world. I hope Mon Mothma and season 2 of Andor make you happy for the rest of your known days, because you're wonderful. So
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Where can everyone find you on the interwebs, the social media, the hellscape?
Okay, so all of the 1,800,000 things that I do, you can find me on all of the social media worth having, and some that are not, at CW Rogers 6. That's CWROG as in golf, ERS, and the number 6 on basically every platform. I, as mentioned at the top of the show, have 2 Star Wars podcasts. One of them is Gold Squadron Gays, which is a Star Wars TV show and occasionally other things analysis podcast that I do with my co-host, Bradley Brower. I am also a cast member on the High Republic TTRPG actual play podcast for Light and Dice. I play the character of Wynn, so definitely check that out. I am also the treasurer of a Star Wars convention, Star Wars Legends convention, that is happening in Burbank, California, September 13th and 14th, called Legends Expo. You can check all of that out and acquire tickets at legends-expo.com. I also write queer books. I write queer mystery thrillers. You can find out more information about that by going to my social media. And that is everywhere you can find me and everything that I do. I also complain on social media relentlessly about everything.
As do I.
All the time.
And for social media for me, you can find at Mothma Updates or Bejeweled Mothma. One is strictly Mon Mothma. The other is pretty much primarily Mon Mothma, but then I start beefing with people on the internet because they're dumb. And I end up blocking them when I get bored. I'll be like, I've got 20 minutes to squabble, and the 20 minutes is up, block. And they're like, haha, I won. And I'm like, no, I'm just bored. I've got things to do. Yeah, and then Star Wars Celebration. I will be there all weekend. I have things to give out to people, including Mon Mothma campaign stickers and friendship bracelets, and my Mon Mothma panel on the Friday from 4 to 5 on the fan stage, where I will yap at people for an hour about Mon Mothma. If you can't make it to the convention, it's going to be recorded. It'll be put on YouTube. At the time of recording this, I don't know what day this is in the countdown. I don't know what tomorrow's topic is going to be or who the guest is going to be, but it will be something and someone. So thank you, everyone, and may the Force be with you.
Bye.